Welcome back to BYoungMinistry.com, to another blog and to another podcast. Today we're in Revelation chapter 13, verses 11 through 17, which reads, Then I saw a second beast coming out of the earth. It had two horns like a lamb, but it spoke like a dragon. It exercised all the authority of the first beast on its behalf. It made the earth and its inhabitants worship the first beast, whose fatal wound had been healed. And it performed great signs, even causing fire to come down from heaven to the earth in full view of the people. Because of the signs it was given power to perform on behalf of the first beast, it deceived the inhabitants of the earth. It ordered them to set up an image in honor of the beast who was wounded by the sword and yet lived. The second beast was given power to give breath to the image of the first beast, so that the image could speak and cause all who refused to worship the image to be killed. It also forced all people, great and small, rich and poor, free and slave, to receive a mark on their right hands or on their foreheads, so that they could not buy or sell unless they had the mark, which is the name of the beast or the number of its name. That's Revelation chapter 13, verses 11 through 17. Today we return to our study of Revelation 13, where we have seen the dragon, or Satan, and the beast coming out of the sea, or the false prophet, continue to wage the age-old war between good and evil. As we considered yesterday, Satan will appear to be winning, but in the end, God's righteousness and truth will prevail. In verse 11 of today's text, we read, Then I saw a second beast coming out of the earth. It had two horns like a lamb, but it spoke like a dragon. Throughout the book of the Revelation, the earth is used as the symbol of Israel, and this beast arises from the earth. Due to the imagery used here, most biblical scholars say the Antichrist will be a Jew. It comes from Israel and has two horns like a lamb, but it spoke like a dragon. He will offer itself as though it were Christ. Satanism is an impostor. One way he deceives people is by putting forward inferior copies of the real thing. In the last days, he will form a sham trinity. He will play the part of God the Father. The Antichrist will stand in for the Son, even to the point of being healed of a mortal wound. And the false prophet will take the role of the Holy Spirit, glorifying the Antichrist. Satan has always wanted to be like the God of the Bible, and this false godhead is another attempt to fabricate godhood for himself. In verses 13 through 15, we read, And it performed great signs, even causing fire to come down from heaven to the earth in full view of the people. Because of the signs it was given power to perform on behalf of the first beast, it deceived the inhabitants of the earth. It ordered them to set up an image in honor of the beast who was wounded by the sword and yet lived. The second beast was given power to give breath to the image of the first beast, so that the image could speak and cause all who refused to worship the image to be killed. Here, it acts as a prophet, trying to show his credentials and that it is from God. Like Moses and Elijah in Revelation 11, it will call down fire from heaven. This underscores the fact that the devil has the power to do miracles too. Thus, we must not trust every miracle as though it were from God. It may be the work of the enemy. This false prophet calls down fire out of heaven and deceives the world by such means. Many biblical scholars feel that being it is a Jew, it will have its headquarters in Jerusalem. This is the one that will make a covenant with the Jews for 7 years. This covenant will appear to solve the age-old problem of the Middle East, the hatred between the Arabs and the Jews. During the first half of that week, the temple will be rebuilt on Mount Moriah. We saw that briefly in Revelation chapter 11. For a 7-year period, the Jews will believe they are allowed to reestablish their worship in the temple. But Daniel says this prince who will come, the Antichrist, will break the covenant in the middle of the 7. So after 3.5 years, it will be broken. Since the political leader of the Western coalition will be in Rome, this religious leader in Jerusalem will feel it necessary to create an image of the Roman leader and put it in the temple for the worship of God, of the world. It is able, we are told, to give breath to that image to make it seem alive. By means of the image, this false prophet will claim godlike powers for itself and for the first beast, and will command the loyalty and obedience of all on the earth. In verses 16 and 17 we read, "It also forced all people, great and small, rich and poor, free and slave, to receive a mark on their right hands or on their foreheads, so that they could not buy or sell unless they had the mark, which is the name of the beast, or the number of its name." The false prophet will also rebuild the world's economic system. He will also force everyone to receive a mark on their right hand or on their forehead, so that no one could buy or sell unless he had the mark, which is the name of the beast or the number of his name. During these days, worldwide commerce will be rigidly controlled from a central headquarters. Again, we know that the technology to do this is already in place. If you have a credit card, you know that your entire credit information can be imprinted on that little metallic strip on the back, so that whenever you present that card, everyone will instantly know whether you are irresponsible or that you pay your bills. We cannot hide. Furthermore, we are told that it can all be actually implanted in a tiny disc in the skin, on the back of the hand or on the forehead, wherever desired, so that information about you can be read by passing your hand under a beam of light, just as they do now in the supermarkets with the barcodes. The technology is already available. It is remarkable how we are rapidly approaching these days. The mark, of course, is Satan's imitation of God's seal on his people. In Revelation 7, we learned that 144,000 from the tribes of Israel were sealed on their foreheads by God. That indicates they will be owned by God and that they will belong to him. The Apostle Paul says that Christians are sealed by the Holy Spirit. The Spirit of God came to dwell in us, and he will never leave us. He is the sign that we belong to God. My friends, I trust this blog and this podcast are helping you in your walk with the Lord. If I can be of further assistance to you, do not hesitate to shoot me an email. And my email address is byoungministry@gmail.com. Hey, have a great